Dan Roach, Ryan Johnston, here with us this morning and going through the ESPN article that dropped this morning. The column from Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natta Jr. and Jeremy Fowler talking about the fact that Bill Belichick thought he had the job in Atlanta, was blindsided when the team went in another direction, and reports that Robert Kraft had spoken to Arthur Blank, the owner in Atlanta, and said not to trust Bill. And the Patriots denied that this conversation took place, at least at that time. It is noteworthy to say that can't say what happened before that time when they had the official phone call. So I see that you employed this Bill Belichick fellow for several years.
So the wording,
and he listed you as a reference. What can you tell me about him?
The wording on the denial is spokesman for Kraft strongly denied that Kraft said anything disparaging about Belichick during the owner's two phone conversations in January. It says that Robert advocated for Bill to get the job, but then it says, when asked if Kraft had ever criticized Belichick in conversations with blank, James said Kraft had no recollection of doing that, but James acknowledged he may have done so prior to January.
Right.
Said it would not surprise me to learn that sometimes owners lament to those close to them when their teams are struggling.
But he's right.
In a passing conversation earlier this year at the owners' meetings, he might have said, I can't, Bill can't get it going. Like he could have been something
frustrated.
like that.
He was Robert always has been a fan. So that's the first thing you think of when it comes to owning the Patriots. And if you pick up the phone and somebody calls me and says, hey, what do you think? The first thing you say is, this sucks. The losing is hard. And, I trust Bill in the process. He's done it so well for so many years, but I don't know what's going on, and it's driving me crazy, right? Isn't that like the honest thing that you would say to a friend? If you looked at the situation from being afar from it, you know the guy, you know his track record, you know how hard he works and what he does. He could coach. But if you're looking at it the last 3 years, as you said, Hardy, it's been frustrating. So he probably talked to Blank and said he's a pain in the neck. But he wins. But he's not winning now, so it might be the time to say goodbye.
There's a big difference between that and saying don't trust this guy.
Well, and I'd be surprised if if Robert said that. I really would, because their whole relationship was built on trust, right? That's what it's been. They had to have that relationship.
How about this? Trust that Robert had in Bill that he would win. That's what the trust was about.
But
okay,
but they lost.
Not because you would trust him with your car or trust him to watch your house or trust him not to say
trust
anything
the process that he goes
bad
through,
about you behind your back. Trust in all right, I don't like this. I don't like the way you act. I don't like the way you treat people in and around this organization, but I trust as a result of doing this, you will win. And that is brought up in the article. Well, how could Robert really feel that way? They were together for 24 years. I'll tell you how. 6 Super Bowl championships in 9 appearances. AFC conference or AFC title game year after year after year after year. That's how you stomach all that. How would you keep that guy employed all that long if you didn't trust him? Because he won at an unprecedented level.
Here's another bit of the story. It says, after an unprecedented run, after Spygate, Aaron Hernandez, after backing his coach and moving on from Brady, after disagreements, public and private, the owner had lost trust in Belichick, which was a key reason for their deteriorating working relationship and the end of the Patriot way. A second source close to Kraft said Robert found Bill to be extremely difficult and obstinate and kind of stubborn, and in the end, not worthy of his trust, and also very, very, very arrogant. They use very 3 times. Same source said he did not know if Kraft had warned Blank about Belichick's trustworthiness, but he said both Krafts felt betrayed by the coach. I don't think they'd try to hurt Belichick, but I don't think they'd try to help him either. They weren't going to try to sink him. He was finished as an effective head coach. Look at his last 4 years in New England, a disaster. If you're Arthur Blank, why do you want the headaches?
I think you go back to what Hardy said. I totally agree with you. When you're winning, everything's great. When you're losing and you've consistently lost for the last 4 years, things change. As an owner, he's pissed, right? As a coach, my owner, I know he's pissed. So I don't talk to him as much. I don't tell him what's going on because I'm trying to win. and get it back going again. So I think that animosity comes out that way. Now, I look if you take yourself away from the situation, I don't think it's what happened here is any different than relationships we've seen with Terry Francona and Red Sox management and ownership and what happened to him when they started losing, when they had that miserable failure. I think it's all part of the process. Now, I will go back and say that if I'm Jerry Jones, I think I would have hired him because you're looking for instant gratification with a Super Bowl, with a team that's ready to play and win a Super Bowl.
You need 15 wins. Go get him in one season.
Yes. Go get him a 1 or 2 seasons and say goodbye.
No, get him one. Win the Super Bowl this next year.
Yes.
Let's go 14-3 regular season, and then you can have one extra, with the cherry on top by winning the Super Bowl.
But
that's
if
what
you're
you want.
The Atlanta Falcons, you're like, no, we have a plan here. We have players in place that we think can be good.
But here's the problem with that.
It's not going to work over 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Okay, but it's not just about the players, because if, according to what we had heard and think we know about Bill, he was willing to concede some of that personnel responsibility and some of the GM duties, and it wouldn't necessarily be about the players. If you're talking about a team like Dallas that is that close, right? All we need is the coach. Okay, if all you need is the coach, hiring Bill just to be a coach still isn't the answer. You don't have to get into the personnel decisions, which Jerry isn't going to, let go of anyway. He's going to change a lot of stuff the moment he comes in there. And if you're that close, do you want a coach that's going to come in, even if it's under the guise of just coaching, that is going to change coordinators, styles, schemes, systems, schedules? You're this close. And now you bring in Bill Belichick, who's got a totally different idea about how to coach, maybe from anyone else in the league. And that is still going to be a big, big change, even if he can't touch the roster.
I would do it. Because I think you had enough time if you
you're
hired
that
him in
close,
January.
If you're that close, you bring in Bill Belichick, who's going to make all kinds
Hardy,
of
look at
changes.
the Cowboys, though. How close is close, right? I think with a change of everything from day one in that building, starting in January, then they're that close. I think if you look at it where he just comes in and flies by the seat of his pants in June, I agree with you.
But in talking about trust, I think you would have to put a tremendous amount of trust in him being truthful that he doesn't want to come in and blow the place up and basically rebuild it into the Patriot way.
There's no question that's a consideration.
Which, if I'm Bob Kraft and Arthur Blank says, do you think he's really capable of that? I go, no, I wouldn't trust him.
And that's the genesis of this article.
I think this article it's a big splash. But at the same time, I think it's human nature, human relationships too.
I think a big part of this comes off as this is Bill Belichick's people trying to make excuses for why he didn't get hired.
Absolutely.
And we're going to point the blame in Robert Kraft's direction. He must have submarined his chances, because otherwise, Michael Lombardi, literally within the last 2 minutes, just tweeted about this story. And he's quoted in the story. Close Bill Belichick friend, all of that.
What did he say?
And they're bragging about this, ? What Blank didn't say is that he and his top lieutenants voted on the team's next head coach, ranking each candidate. Bill Belichick didn't even finish in anyone's top 3. Comical. So that's the Belichick side, is how could they have not given him the job? It must have been evil Robert Kraft who took his chances away. Because Belichick, as we know from the lead of the story, thought he had the job in his pocket.
Right.
He walked out of that first interview and went, nailed it. I'm the guy.
Right.
And
I wouldn't expect Michael Lombardi to say anything else, though, right?
No, but that's it echoes the Belichick side of this. And to the credit of the ESPN people, not a lot of people went on record on this, but they've got sources close to Belichick, they've got sources close to Kraft.
How close?
Telling different stories.
But if you want to find out where it starts and
but
where
there
the
is at least one
motivation is.
source close to Kraft who said, yeah, that part about saying don't trust Bill, yeah, he did that.
Yeah, the source who is a close friend of both, which I don't know.
No, two separate. One source who spoke to a person close to Belichick and a person close to Kraft.
And again,
I would just say be leery of these close sources and who they are.
Okay, but there are. I agree. And we all want to know 5 minutes after reading it, okay, where did this come from?
Right.
What's the starting point of this? And it feels like it's Belichick, especially when you get to the quote, asked whether Kraft had any motivation to keep Belichick off the sidelines. A source close to the coach, close to Belichick, said, if Bill goes on to have success and Tom already had success, then who does Kraft have to blame?
That source, Michael Felger.
Okay. So that is...
I believe I've heard that on the
right.
afternoon show once or twice.
Hardy, I go back to what you said. What we said at the top here is that think about the situation. Take a step back. A guy that's been coaching for how long and has had success, and in the last 4 years hasn't had success. If I pick up the phone and I call the owner of that coach that hasn't had success, I think it's human nature to say things have unraveled. Things aren't how they used to be. The process isn't how it used to be. I trusted him. Say, here's the keys. You go win. That's why I brought him here, even though I knew he was a pain in the neck, like Parcells had said. I think it's just human nature that you have a conversation with another owner. You're going to talk. You're going to talk privately, and I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just think he's the greatest coach in the history of the game, but he didn't win the last 4 years, and I'd be leery of hiring a guy like that. Wouldn't you?
I would be, and quite frankly, and I just wanted to say this before we get too much further down the road about the sourcing and all this stuff. There are 3 reporters who put their name on this.
Yep.
It's Wickersham, Fowler, and Van Natta. So whether you think it's like, oh, maybe they did this or that, you got 3 people sitting around talking about this saying, do we really put this in print? Because they know it's going to be...
Well, not to mention, Wickersham especially. We know the stories that he has done about the inside work of the Patriots over the years. Like, he knows this stuff pretty cold.
Yes. And to think that there was like any animosity or did Kraft really feel that way? He won so much. Yeah, go back and watch the Apple series, which he sat down for and had every opportunity to say, whatever he wanted. And a lot of the stuff in there, that's when he said, the guy is great, but he called the team and the relationship between going back to Brady dysfunctional. And he said, I was willing to put up with it as long as we won.
He's a pain in the tush.
Anyway, that's right. Thank you. If you like that clip, check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Red Sox analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.